Well, welcome everyone. It's very exciting to be here, and I know you're probably very eager to learn about Patriot Angels and veterans benefits, so I'm very happy to do that. So I am Bruce Rosenblatt. I am the owner of Senior Housing Solutions, and we are senior housing advisors here in Southwest Florida. So that's Naples, Bonita Springs, Fort Myers, Cape Coral. And I have been doing this for over 16 years. I've been involved in the senior housing business for over 30 years. And I know, the people who are on this webinar, I know many of you all know who I am already, but just for the sake of recording, I think it's important to just to say who I am. And so, in addition to being, an advisor, I really try to be a resource to our seniors and our families. And, there's so much, so much confusion about veterans benefits, and we really need to protect our heroes out there. And so I've developed a partnership with this wonderful company called Patriot Angels, and that's all that they do. And Emily's going to tell you a little bit more about what they do, but they help people receive the benefits that they're, really entitled to. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Emily, and if you all have questions, you can just chat below, and I'll ask Emily the questions.
Perfect.
So, Emily, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, Bruce, thank you so much for having me, and welcome to everybody who is in attendance and that will probably shortly be attending as well. As Bruce was saying, my name is Emily Perry, and I am the Director of Business Development and Marketing here at Patriot Angels. What Patriot Angels is we are a third-party organization that assists veterans and their spouses in applying for their VA benefits. Now, the benefit that we help with the most and what we specialize in is called aid and attendance. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys a brief video and then go through a presentation of what that benefit is, and then what our process looks like, and simply educate and inform you of the resources that are out there for the veterans and spouses in your lives, in your communities, and that are constantly looking to you for additional resources. So with that, I'll go ahead and start our video, and then I will go ahead and continue on presenting. And like Bruce said, if you guys do have any questions or there's anything that comes up, just go ahead and type it in the chat, and I'm more than happy to answer that as well. All right.
Patriot Angels is a consulting company, and we actually help veterans and widows get their benefits through the VA. It's actually called base pension with an upgrade to aid and attendance. If a veteran served at least 90 active duty days, one of those days during a declared time of war with an honorable general or medical discharge, they are potentially eligible for this pension. Then they have to be over the age of 65 and in need of some care. Unfortunately, so many veterans and widows have no idea it's even out there. They don't know how to obtain it. It would be like trying to do your taxes when you're 80 for the first time.
The VA is a huge organization, and there's a lot of red tape and a lot of bureaucracy that goes with being a big organization. They don't have bad intentions, but it's just difficult. And so a lot of veterans are not aware of the fact that they can get help. When my dad heard that he was going to get over 2,000, I think 600 a month, something like that, he cried.
A gentleman called us, and he had finally got approved. He said, I was eating every third day. My wife was in senior housing, and I needed to make sure I had enough money that she could get paid for. And he said, finally I can eat. Those are the people that fought for us. Our job is to serve them and fight back.
That is just kind of a brief synopsis of what we do and our mission here. Really what we love to do is simply go through and inform people what aid and attendance is and what resources are available to our veterans and their spouses. So I will first start with going over what aid and attendance is, and then I'll kind of dive into Patriot Angels story and then our process, and then we'll open it up for questions at the end. So what the aid and attendance benefit is it is a benefit designed by the VA directly to help supplement long-term care costs in not only in-home care, but independent living, assisted living, memory care, and even some skilled nursing facilities. And the way that they do that is they actually are going to take into account their eligibility requirements, which I will go through in just a short moment, but it's going to be based on their financial situation as well as the medical need for assistance at this time in their life. So just like I said, the aid and attendance program is designed to help supplement that care and to offset those care costs. So going through the different qualification factors, the VA does have very strict guidelines on those qualification factors. So some of the things that we are going to be asking our veterans and their families as they call and contact us are the following. So for a veteran, one of the biggest, these are the 3 qualification factors we will ask right off the bat. So is the veteran 65 years or older or 100% disabled? Did they serve at least 90 days of active military duty with one of those days during a declared time of war? Now, I don't know if any of you guys have our brochure or anything, but on that information there as well is going to be what war times do qualify for this benefit, and it gives specific dates and guidelines for those requirements as well. And then the last main qualification factor is going to be if the veteran received an honorable, general, or medical discharge. So those are the 3 basic qualification factors that we're going to go off right from the very first start to make sure and ensure that this veteran does qualify for the aid and attendance benefit. There is also different stipulations for a surviving spouse who is applying, who are actually eligible as well. So a spouse for qualifying must have been married to the veteran for at least 1 year. The spouse cannot have divorced the veteran, and the spouse upon the veteran's passing must have remained unmarried. And so there are different stipulations and situations. I always like to say, every single family that we deal with that comes through is going to have different situations and circumstances. But what I love about our process is that we pride ourselves on giving the most informed resource and education up front to make sure that we are not moving anybody forward in our process that we do not believe we can get approved. So what are the pension amounts? So dependent on what I like to call the filing statuses, there's going to be a different maximum benefit amount. And that benefit is actually deposited the first of every month, tax-free for the remainder of their life. So that doesn't go to the community, that doesn't go to the caregiver, that goes straight into the pockets of our veterans and spouses who need this and can then dictate where those funds are going to be used for their care and their senior long-term costs. So for a veteran themselves, that maximum pension amount is going to be $2,229. For a veteran who is married or has one dependent, it's going to be $2,642. And for a surviving spouse, it's going to be $1,432. Now you'll notice that there is a large amount, and that is for a veteran married to another veteran. Now, in order to obtain that amount, both veterans do have to meet the requirements individually. So going forward, they both have to have served during eligible war times, meeting those requirements individually to get that lump sum amount. Now, again, like I said, it is a completely tax-free benefit deposited every month, and it's also retroactively paid back. So whenever we do move forward with one of our clients, we submit what is called an intent to file. Now, what that does is that's going to lock in their retroactive pay date. So as soon as we do determine that eligibility and that we do believe that they're a great candidate for this benefit, we submit what is called an intent to file. Now, let's say I submit one of those pieces of evidence to the VA today. Well, it's going to lock in a retroactive pay date for the first of the following of the next month. So no matter how long it takes our families, and I'll dive into our process here in just a short minute as well. But no matter how long it takes for the VA to approve this benefit, that in and of itself will lock in a retroactive pay date. So that means they'll be getting paid back to when they first let the VA know that they are intending to apply. All right, so the basis of this benefit is going to be, as I was stating, a financial and medical need benefit. So the VA does have an asset limitation. And that asset limitation for 2023, which also goes up every year with the cost of living adjustment. As we all know, this year was a very significant increase for that. But for this year, the asset limitation is going to be $150,538. Now, a lot of people are going to think, okay, well, how is that even going to be possible? What about my home? You know, that in and of itself is worth almost double than that. Okay, well, actually, as long as that property, their primary residence is under 2 acres or below, that's a completely exempt asset through the VA. Another thing that we do is we also offer, you know, a lot of resources for planning on what you're going to do when you do sell your home, right? Making sure that people are looking into planning for their future to where this isn't going to alter their eligibility moving forward. Now, for their care costs versus medical expenses, what they're going to look at is going to be their monthly income. So the VA wants to see that a veteran or spouse is paying out either equal to or more than their monthly income in their care costs. Now, this is a reimbursement benefit, so that is why we like to get this in place as soon as possible, so that we're not looking at a detriment of, you know, that sticker shock moving into a community. They're now having, you know, they haven't paid a mortgage for 30 years, and now they're looking at anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000 a month just to live for room and board. So a lot of what we do is going to be determined prior to even establishing our clients as clients. And the reason that I want to go into that is because that is what I believe is very important for us as Patriot Angels, is to make sure that we are not putting anybody through this process we do not believe we can get approved.
And Emily, I have a question right here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you talk about care costs, and it's probably more of a point than a question, but I just want a clarification. When someone moves into assisted living, there's sort of a base rate, and then there's care related charges. And so you might have a base rate, let's just say it's 3,500, and then they might be, you know, a level 2 or a level 3, and that's another 2,000 on top of that. So when you go back to that previous slide, would you be considering all of that? You know, would it be the 3,500 plus the 2,000, or would it be just the 2,000?
So that's a great question, Bruce, and thank you so much for asking that. So that actually, what allows us to do that is the VA is going to count a medical expense if your community is going to be one of two things, okay? A protective environment. If your community is a protective environment and they're 24/7 staff, pull cords, anything like that to indicate that protective environment, that rent is now a countable medical expense. So it counts to have that rent as well as those care costs. So to qualify for this benefit, the VA wants to see one of two things. And generally, a lot of our veterans and spouses have both of this, but there's also stipulations through the VA that it's one or the other. And those two things are going to be either A, like I said, that community is a protective environment, or B, that the veteran or spouse is receiving at least 2 of the main ADLs. So those activities of daily living, bathing, dressing, transferring, toileting, feeding, and those ADLs can be standby assistance. They don't have to be as invasive as people think that they are. And that's why we always love to have people contact us so that we can let them know of the different stipulations so that they're not disqualifying themselves right off the bat. So thank you. That was a fantastic question.
And another clarification, when you say protective environment, that's different than a secured environment.
Yes,
right?
so there is going to be stipulations for a protective environment. And like I said, that is going to be the easiest way to determine that, 24/7 staffing. If there is somebody on site at that community who will respond to an alert or to somebody who has fallen, anything like that, they're going to be responding to them. That is then considered a protective environment. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of dive into Patriot Angels and our process and how we got started. So Patriot Angels, we are actually celebrating our 10-year anniversary this year. We were established in 2012 as a safe avenue for veterans and spouses to go through to get the knowledge they need of what they are available and entitled to help them pay for their senior care. So Patriot Angels, our CEO and founder, who was in the video that I showed at the beginning of this webinar, she has always been an advocate for the vulnerable. She actually is from Alaska and was she was a big advocate for child care and foster care in Alaska before moving out to where we're physically located now, which is just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. And so when she moved here, she started in the industry of helping our elderly, our veterans and spouses in homes that were going into foreclosure and everything like that to make sure that they were taken care of at this chapter in their life. Well, one of the businesses that Suzette had first started working with when she came to Nashville was actually a small law firm. And what they did is they assisted veterans and spouses in getting annuities and putting their money in annuities that could then help them pay for care. Well, long story short, she found out that that wasn't necessarily a great ethically moral resource for our veterans and spouses, because what ends up happening is when you tie up your money that you're intending to pay for care with, you know, a lot of legal jargon and everything like that, you're ending up kind of setting yourself up for failure, because what if your care costs increase and now you only have a very detailed specific amount coming out for your care every month? So when she found out that this wasn't really a great resource for our veterans and spouses, what she did was she actually went to a senior living community in her local area. And she said, did you guys know that this is kind of what's going on in your communities, that these law firms and estate planning attorneys are going and they're looking for people and looking for how much money that they have so that they can sell them these annuities? So they said, well, Suzette, no, we actually did not know that. And thank you so much for telling us. And they said, Suzette, what are you doing on Monday? And she goes, well, honestly, I'm looking for a job, because she didn't agree with the way that they were operating. And so they said, you know what, Suzette, if you start your own company, we will be the first to refer our veterans and spouses to use you for this process. So I always get chills talking about it. I've heard her story 1,000,001 times, but it never ceases to amaze me because of how impactful just that conversation that she had really was, and how many lives have been changed since then. So she ended up starting Patriot Angels in her bonus room. Her first 5 employees were her 5 children. And they went from taking, these questionnaires on a piece of paper to now we have a very intricate CRM system. And I am going to kind of dive into what our process looks like now, since I kind of gave you a rundown on why we started, what our mission has been, and the advocacy that we really have stemmed from. So let's say that, Bruce, you have a veteran or spouse that is looking for senior living, right? So you tell them to give us a call, okay? So they're immediately going to be greeted and they're going to go to our intake team. Now, our intake team is going to go ahead and go through those bottom line qualifying factors for the veteran or the spouse, depending on who they're talking to. If at the end of that 10-15 minute completely free phone call, that intake representative believes them to be a good candidate, they're going to move them forward to our second free call. Now, that call is going to be with our benefit advisors, and those benefit advisors are going to dive into the specificity behind the benefit. So they're going to analyze, okay, what is this family member, what are their medical and financial needs? If at that point they believe them to still be a good candidate based on their income versus medical expenses, what their assets look like, that is when they will move to our long-term care analysis specialist. So our long-term care assessment is what our veterans and spouses are going to be paying for. So the preparation and submission of an application for VA benefits itself, you cannot legally charge for that. And we never would want to either. What we charge for at Patriot Angels, it's going to be a one-time flat fee, nothing thereafter, nothing before, And what it's for is what we call our long-term care assessment. Now, that long-term care assessment provides the veteran and surviving spouse or their family with the detailed analysis of why they're a great candidate and making sure that we're laying out why we believe we can get them approved and how best to move forward to make sure that their financial needs are being met and that they're receiving the benefits that they are entitled to. So we actually do with our process, as long as we have full disclosure from our families, meaning they're not hiding $1 million under their mattress, which I'm sure a lot of us, that would be very nice, but it's not really realistic. As long as we have full disclosure, we have maintained a perfect success rate with the VA. We have thus far, so here's those wartime dates I was talking about. And I'll leave these up on the screen, and then I'll also share all of this information with Bruce following this webinar as well. But some of the things that I want to dive in with you guys are, what sets Patriot Angels apart? Okay, what do we do? And some of the things that I want to go over are some of the staggering statistics that we see on a daily basis within the senior living industry. So there was actually a study done last year that 30 to 50% of all senior living residents are actually veterans or their spouses. Now, the most ridiculous statistic regarding that is that only 2% of them are receiving their VA benefits. And this is just free money that is waiting for them to get so that they can get the care that they need. What ends up happening is, unfortunately, a lot of people will disqualify themselves because they'll contact the VA directly, a local VSO office that doesn't really know the ins and outs of this particular benefit. And they will disqualify themselves thinking that either I make too much money or I'm in an independent living. Doesn't this have to be for skilled nursing or when I am absolutely destitute and can't take care of myself? So those are the common misconceptions that we see a lot, that we like to make sure people understand the eligibility moving forward, that there are so many options for them and different care settings that this benefit can be awarded for. Now, there are about 17,000 plus VA accredited attorneys out there. And in order to apply for this benefit, if you want to apply for more than one person, you do have to work under a VA accredited attorney. Now, we do work with a VA accredited attorney. Her name is Victoria Collier, and she is a veteran herself. She is also a co-owner of Patriot Angels, and she has spent her life, her elder law attorney firm was just that. It specialized in elder law. She fought at the Supreme Court level, fighting for our veterans and spouses to get their benefits that they deserve. So she is actually the one that supervises our entire operation. Now, what that allows us to do is know exactly what kind of verbiage, what kind of additional evidence, what kind of layout the VA wants to see when we're supplying these claims to them. So what we do with that is that, like I said, there's 17,000 plus VA accredited attorneys and attorneys firms that do similar stuff to what we do at Patriot Angels. But just last year alone, Patriot Angels was responsible for nearly 12% of all approvals nationwide. So we have gone from 10 years ago, starting out helping, 1-2 people at a time, to we just reached in January, end of December, beginning of January, we have helped over 15,000 veterans and their families get this benefit. So that's projected to equate to nearly $500 million in the pockets of our veterans and spouses to pay for their senior care that they so rightly deserve. Now, our client on average is about 83 years old, right? And right now we are seeing a lot of people come in from Vietnam that are younger and younger. And because of what they were exposed to, they're suffering a lot more of their health issues and medical needs earlier in life. Well, we know that when people are looking for senior living, it is, they need this money fast. This isn't something that they can just fork over $10,000 a month on a continued basis. They need some sort of supplement to help them pay for this. Now we do with our VA accreditation, what we do is we submit to the VA what's called a fully developed claim. And that means that we are going through word by word, box by box, number by number, and articulating to the VA exactly how they want it laid out for a fast and easy turnaround. If you were to call the VA and ask them what the average turnaround time is right now for processing of an aid and attendance claim, they're going to tell you that it is anywhere between 12 to 24 months. That is just time that our families do not have. That is time that their medical needs are going to significantly increase, and that the funds that they have available to help them pay for senior care are going to decrease. So our average turnaround time right now at Patriot Angels is sitting at a staggering 97-day turnaround time. So that is incredible because that gets our families the funds that they need to get the care that they deserve fast. So like I said, those funds are retroactively paid back as well. So that first check that they'll receive is going to be that retroactive payment as well as their regular monthly amount. And that benefit is deposited to them for the remainder of their life. Now, I'm sure that you're wondering, well, what if we got them the benefit and they went from independent living to now they're needing assisted memory care? Well, once a client, always a client. There is never any additional fee for any questions that they have. Give us a call anytime. Hey, I got a letter from the VA. They're asking this. Cost of living has gone up. What does that look like? I'm moving my mom or dad into a memory care. What do I need to do to make sure that we're still getting this benefit so that they can afford this care? They can give us a call, and we have an after filing department that is there for them whenever they need it. And we assist them with getting the right documentation to submit to the VA to accurately update their records so that they can maintain this benefit. Now,
And I have a question.
yeah.
So if somebody, you said that the home sale would not, like the home would not count as an asset.
Mhm.
So let's just say somebody qualifies, but then they sell their home and they get $300,000 for their home.
Right.
Are they now not qualified?
So when we do talk to our veterans and spouses and their family, and they let us know, we do have a primary residence, but we are looking to sell it, next year. We're going to refer them to contact, we have a network of estate planning attorneys and resources for them to where you can protect that asset to where the VA cannot count that against them. So there are options for them, even if they were to sell their home, as long as that home, those liquid assets don't go into their bank account and put them over that $150,000 threshold, they're still going to get this benefit. So there are options for pre-planning to make sure that moving forward, when they do sell their home, they're still okay. But in general, what we love to do is simply help educate and provide these resources to the industry, because right now a lot of people are needing the care, and they're also needing to be able to have the resources for our families to get them the help that they need. So getting these people to move into communities so that they have the access to the healthcare that they absolutely deserve is what we are here for. So Patriot Angels is a white glove service to where we are going to walk through with the family every step of the way through this application process. So after that long-term care assessment is completed, they're then paired with a claims coordinator. That claims coordinator is going to walk through with the families any additional evidence that could potentially be needed to submit with this claim. And then we create that 65-page application here in-house and get that submitted to the VA. Now, we have the expertise based on the last 10 years that we are able to maintain that perfect success rate, because at the end of the day, a lot of times you leave a box unchecked, you put a 0 in the wrong spot, it is a immediate denial. Now, if you're submitting an application and you don't have a VA accredited attorney or agent on record submitting and representing your claim, what ends up happening is if the VA is like, nope, you are not meeting these qualification factors, well, you now have to wait an entire year to reapply for this benefit. With a VA accredited attorney or representative like we work under, we are actually able, the VA has to send us a letter as well stating this is why we're questioning this particular thing. We then gather that evidence, resubmit it to the VA, and they pick that right back up where they left off instead of putting that to the bottom of the pile. So we know everything that the VA is looking for, and we are able to then get that fast and easy turnaround time for our families and our veterans and spouses that deserve this so very much. So with that, I would like to open it up to questions that you guys have based on qualification factors. If you guys just want more information, like I said, I will share all of this with Bruce following this webinar, and we can get that out to you immediately. I am always here. So with that, I'll kind of open it up for questions.
So I might have missed it, Emily, but
Yeah.
what is the charge?
Yeah, so for that long-term care assessment, it's a one-time fee of $12.95, so $1,295. And there is nothing thereafter. There is no additional, financial resources that are sold at any point in our process. But that is what our fee is. And it is for that detailed assessment.
And I just want to clarify that, we talk about senior housing, but it also applies for home care.
It does, yes. So there are home care stipulations, but at the end of the day, what the VA wants to see is that the care need is there, right? So let's say that we have somebody who is going through and getting in-home care. Well, they're still going to have to pay that caregiver. So the VA will look, okay, what are you making from Social Security, retirement, coming in? Let's say you're making $5,000 in income a month, okay? They're paying that caregiver $5,500, $6,000. They're going to qualify for that full amount. So in-home care, independent living, assisted living, memory care, and even some skilled nursing does qualify for this benefit. Absolutely. It's a great question.
So there was a question about what is the best way for folks to access your services? And I just want to add that I do have an account manager with Patriot Angels. So, you could ask me and I can get you in touch with that person. Emily, is there another way?
I mean, that's perfect. What I always tell people too is regardless of who you're going to call, whether it be that account representative or just our main line, you're going to get taken care of right then. So I'll give you our main line number right now, which is going to be 844-757-3047. And that will immediately go to our front line. They're going to greet you and get a little brief synopsis about the situation and then guide that family to our intake team who will complete that brief questionnaire.
So you have a question, is the $1,250 or $1,300, is that a guarantee that you're going to get the benefits?
So we cannot guarantee anything. However, we do have a perfect success rate because of the way that our process is designed. We would never put anybody through this process that we do not believe we could get approved. So while I can't verbally and legally say I can guarantee that, we do maintain a perfect success rate based on our experience and the pre-screening that we do in that two-step process. So we never move anybody forward that we do not believe we could get approved. We always want to make sure they're a great candidate.
So Denise, who works at a very nice independent living community in this area, so their residents have a safety pendant that has 24/7 response.
Okay.
And they have a caregiver and a security guard basically 24/7.
Then that would count. Absolutely. So as long as that staff member, if let's say that they hit that pendant and that staff member responds to them and it doesn't, just simply go straight to EMS, it's going to be somebody on staff that constitutes you as a protective environment.
Excellent. That's great, Denise. That's going to help you a lot, I think.
Absolutely. And again, Bruce, please feel free to share my information after this as well. And if anybody here would like to have a follow-up meeting or have any questions, a phone call, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. That's what I'm here for.
So, and I'm going to kind of ask a personal question. My mom divorced my dad, who passed away, but then she remarried a veteran, and they were married, 20-something years, and he passed away. So does she now qualify?
So if she was married to that veteran for at least 1 year and she has remained unmarried since, then in those guidelines, yes, she would qualify. Absolutely. It is going to depend on his service time and make sure that his service time does fall in those war dates.
Okay.
But yes, she would. And actually my grandmother, we just submitted her application yesterday. So she just moved into assisted living. She is up in Michigan right now. We lost my grandpa about 5 years ago, and now he is able to provide for her after the fact of his passing, because his service has been able to now alleviate that financial burden, and she is able to get the care she needs in a community. So that's really exciting for me.
I know we have on this webinar, we have an attorney. And I was wondering how you work together with a local attorney.
Absolutely. So we always love when people have, a lot of people will want to use a local attorney or a family friend for VA benefits. But what we do is we like to make sure that attorney is well versed on the VA, right? There are definite laws and stipulations when it comes to the VA. And that is why the attorneys that we use are VA accredited. So there are a lot of attorneys, like I said, about 17,000 throughout the US that are VA accredited attorneys. And that's fantastic. All we want is to have those resources and those people there advocating for the veterans and spouses just like we are. So we absolutely support and love the fact of the work that they're doing as well.
So Catherine asked, is there a look back period?
So there is a look back period. It is going to be 3 years. So what that look back period is going to entail is the VA is going to look at, did they gift $100,000 to their children in the last year? What they're looking for is they want to make sure that there is no transfers to become eligible for this benefit. They want to make sure that the people who are getting this benefit are the people that need this benefit. So there is a 3-year look back period. That's a great question.
I had another question just because we've been on seminars before. I just want to make sure that it was still 3 years. But sometimes one person will say apply for benefits before applying for the Medicaid waiver program. Some people say apply for the Medicaid waiver program before VA benefits. So I just wanted to clear that.
Yeah, to kind of see how Medicaid and VA benefits interact, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So they're kind of like oil and water is the best way that I like to kind of phrase that. So if there is somebody who, is going through our process and they're applying for Medicaid and VA benefits, I will always let them know, okay, so here's how Medicaid eligibility and VA benefits is going to work. Generally speaking, it is one or the other. However, if the client is receiving Medicaid, but they're still paying out-of-pocket care costs, they could still get up to $90 every month with the VA benefit aid and attendance as well. So anything helps. However, generally speaking, when people do apply for Medicaid, it's going to be in a skilled nursing facility, and those care costs are 100% covered. So although there are people that come through, I'll always say it's better to apply for both at the same time, because if one falls through, you still have the other one. And at the end of the day, that's what we want, is just to make sure that they are financially taken care of to get the care that they need. Does that answer your question?
I'm going to go back to my other question about the home sale.
Yeah.
Okay, and so if somebody qualifies and they're living in their own home, and then, you know, then they sell their home, and let's just say, you know, they've gone to an attorney and they structure that in a way, but how do you avoid, then there's the 3-year look back.
Yeah, so we actually have an attorney that's a VA accredited attorney that we refer to that creates trusts for veterans and spouses that once they do sell the home, and it does matter if this is established prior to submission or not, right? Because if we're submitting a claim, they get approved and then they create this trust and the sale of the home goes in there, well, that's a little shady. Right? So we want to make sure they're planning all the way up to when they get their benefits. So if they are looking to sell their home, there are residential trusts, irrevocable trusts that when done correctly, the VA cannot legally count those proceeds against the family. So we'll always refer out to the VA accredited attorneys that we know of and have in our network that can establish those trusts in the right way for them to where it does not count.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And if somebody wants some brochures,
Bruce, if you guys have, if you'd like any brochures, Bruce, I know that you probably have the attendee list. If you want to simply just send out my email and my direct line, that is more than okay. Just reach out to me, shoot me an email, and I can get those brochures sent out to you today.
great, yeah.
All right. Perfect.
Yeah, I'll send you. Is there anybody on this list that would not want me to send your contact information to Emily?
Nope, anybody and everybody, that's perfect.
Okay,
That is what I'm here for. And like I said too, if there's, something, if you're anything like me, I'll always think of questions as soon as we end the call. So if that does end up happening, please again, just feel free to give me a call, shoot me an email. We can set up a follow-up meeting or I can answer it right there on the spot for you. That is what I'm here for.
and do you interact a lot with the actual veteran, or do you interact more with the family?
So it just depends. A lot of veterans, so I have been here for about 4 years. In the first half of my career here, I was actually the claims department manager and paralegal. So I've done everything from conversing with the family, taking those initial calls and screenings, to submitting and creating the applications. And we really do get a very nice mix. I have dealt solely with spouses, solely with veterans, and then we do end up dealing a lot with the children of the veterans or sisters, brothers, because at that point they maybe are not able to do this for themselves.
Right.
Yep.
So Janice has a question about, if you haven't moved yet, should you start the process?
So I personally always say the sooner the better, and we will not submit the application until the qualifying factors have actually been met. So we're not going to submit an application if somebody isn't qualified, right? That's not how we maintain our perfect success rate. But you coming through and gathering some of the evidence that you can and locking in that start date, then we can move. As soon as you do move into the community, we already have things in place to where we can get that to the VA as quickly as possible.
So, and you would need like discharge papers, you would need
Yep, so
service
marriage
records.
information, death certificate, this is an income and asset-based benefit. So getting, a pension statement, getting their asset information, so an IRA, CD, checking, savings accounts, making sure that when we do submit our fully developed claim, we have the additional evidence to back up what is on that application.
Excellent.
Great question.
Well, everyone, it's been great. Emily, thank you so much. This is
Our
wonderful information. I'm so proud to be associated with you, with the Patriot Angels and your team there. It's so great. And I just know we got to take care of our veterans out there and their spouses. They served our country, and we gotta serve them.
Absolutely. I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for hosting. I am very honored to be able to talk to you all today. I really do look forward to discussing this more with you guys. We are a great partner with Senior Housing Solutions, so thank you for all that you do. And I just want to again simply say thank you. And let's help as many of our veterans and spouses that we can together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care, everyone.
All right. You have a great rest of your day, guys.